Scott, we're going to wait about 5 minutes for Catherine.
Okay, that's all.
Okay, looks like we have everybody here, so we're going to get started. Good afternoon. In response to the executive orders issued by the Governor of the State of California, the following meeting of the Board of Education at the Del Mar County School District will be conducted in person, following all current health regulations in effect at the time of the meeting. 1.1 Call to order open session. Open session of the October 27, 2021 Governing Board of Trustees meeting is called to order at 4:03 p.m. Pursuant to Government Code Section 54953B, which authorizes the conduct of meetings by legislative bodies through teleconferencing under specified circumstances, a quorum of the board members of the district, which will participate from a location within the boundaries of the district. Member Scott Wooden will appear via telephone as permitted by the statute from 890 Elkridge Landing Road, Linthicum, Maryland, 21090. I will now take a roll call of board members who are present at this meeting. Member Mock.
Present.
Member Wooden. Okay, is present. Member Raffner.
I'm here.
Member Fitzpatrick.
Present.
And I am here. All members are present. 1.2 is public input concerning items in the closed session agenda. We will now call members of the public who have requested to address the governing board regarding items that are on the closed session agenda. I have one item. If there are any other items, thank you. Just bring them up. Okay, there are two. Okay. Persons wishing to address the board on a closed session item, except personnel items, are invited to do so at this time. In the interest of time and order, presentations from the public are limited to 3 minutes per person per topic. Okay, so you have filled out your speaker slips, and I'm going to call parent of DMUSD student, followed by Amy Hellenkamp.
Good afternoon, DMSEF. It stays on.
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Oh, excellent, thank you. Good afternoon. Federal and state laws govern student records and confidentiality. The Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, FERPA, protects personally identifiable information, PII, from students' education records from unauthorized disclosure. Under the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, the district may not disclose educational records without the written consent of the parent. A student record is defined as an item of information directly related to a student which is maintained by a school district. 34 CFR Section 99.3. Disclosure means to permit access to or the release, transfer, or communication of personally identifiable information to any party by any means, including oral, written, and electronic means. 34 CFR Section 99.3. FERPA also defines the term of personally identifiable information. This includes direct identifiers such as a student or other family member's name. In addition, the confidentiality of a personally identifiable information in the education records of children with disabilities is further protected by Part B of, it's not working.
Can you just pause the time for a second?
Yes.
Do you need a mic?
Okay. In addition, the confidentiality of personally identifiable information in the education records of children with disabilities is further protected by Part B of the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, IDEA, 20 USC 1417C, and 34 CFR Section 300.610 through 300.626. These regulations contain confidentiality provisions that are similar to, but broader than FERPA. Dr. Holly McClurg knows, or reasonably should know, of these student confidentiality laws because they are also listed under DMUSD board policy. Yet, Dr. Holly McClurg still chooses to ignore them. Superintendent Holly McClurg and DMUSD board members were also notified via email several times by several families that the parent did not and does not give DMUSD consent to publish personally identifiable information of her child on the DMUSD website in regards to today's agenda's items. Yet again, Superintendent Holly McClurg and DMUSD board members continue to
You have
choose
15 seconds to conclude.
to ignore parents' non-consent. It can be reasonably deduced that the district's decision to publish personally identifiable information and its refusal to remove personally identifiable information from the DMUSD website was made in retaliation for the parents' advocacy for the student and complaints made against the district and Superintendent Holly McClurg. Both ADA and Section 504 prohibit retaliation against persons with disabilities.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Amy Hellenkamp?
Hi, my name's Sadie Hellenkamp. I really have only learned about this in the past day, but what I've heard is disgusting. And I'm here as a reminder that you might think you win if you deny kids with disabilities services, if you harass their parents until they go away. But these kids are part of the communities forever. And you deny them services and you all lose. Think about the kind of district you want to be. Think about the kind of world you want to live in. I'm really disgusted that I have to be here today. Thank you.
Thank you. We are at item 1.3, adjournment into closed session. The board will meet in closed session to consider the following matters. 2.1, conference with legal counsel. 2.2, conference with legal counsel. 2.3, conference with legal counsel. 2.4, conference with legal counsel. And 2.5, conference with legal counsel pending litigation. The board will now adjourn into closed session at 4:09 p.m.
Hey, Scott.
Hey,
All right, we're back in the big room.
okay, all right.
All the elevator music for you.
I know, I was gonna say that. Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, I went to the shell. Wasn't that the shell? The radio shell?
Oh, the shower, no, that's it.
It's really
Some people went to year and a half.
No, no, I went, there was somebody invited me to. Actually, it turned out to be but I was so impressed with the place.
I've seen pictures of this.
That's nice.
It felt really nice.
Sunset, and then the orchestra's playing, and there's this party going on.
Oh, really? That's unfortunate.
I thought it was pretty fun.
Okay, guys. My microphone is a little glitchy here. Can I share with you? Okay. We're back. We're at item 3.1, call to order open session. We are reconvening open session at 5:45 p.m. By law and board policy, I must notify you that this meeting is being recorded. By law and board policy, any member of the public may address the board on the item on the agenda or any non-agenda item, but the public must present a written request to the board. Therefore, I ask you to kindly submit your speaker slips at this time to help us run an efficient meeting. Speaker slips for non-agenda items to be turned in prior to item 4.2, hearing of the public regarding non-agenda items. You will be recognized and called to podium at that time. You will have 3 minutes to address the governing board. For those individuals who wish to comment on a particular agenda item, your speaker slip will need to be turned in by item 5.8, hearing of the public regarding agenda items. You will be recognized and called to the podium when your requested agenda item comes up. You will have 3 minutes to address the governing board. Okay. Item 3.2 is report of action taken in closed session. Regarding item 2.2, in closed session by unanimous vote, the governing board voted to deny claimant's application to present a late claim. Item 2.3, in closed session by unanimous vote, the board voted to approve a compromise agreement and release with student in OAH case number 202-106-0649. The agreement includes special education services and attorney's fees in the amount of $8,500 in exchange for waiver of claims against the district. Closed session item 2.4. In closed session by unanimous vote, the board voted to approve a compromise agreement and release with the student in OAH case number 202-107-0585. The agreement includes special education services and attorney's fees in the amount of $10,200 in exchange for waiver of claims against the district. Item 3.3, Pledge of Allegiance. We now welcome Paul McClure to make us the Pledge of Allegiance.
Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Here at item 3.4, approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
All move to approval.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Running roll call vote because that's, okay. Not take a roll call vote. Member Mock?
Aye.
Member Wooden?
Aye.
Member Rafter?
Aye.
Member Fitzpatrick?
Aye.
And I for me, the motion to approve the agenda is passed. 4.1 correspondence. Dr. Clark.
Good evening. The Superintendent's Office has received the following correspondence regarding district business on these topics: DMUSD Health and Safety Plan, Protocols, Guidelines, and Practices, Transportation, Fillmore Hills Modernization, STEAM Plus, Special Education, Curriculum, Safety, excitement around having events including family events at school sites, board meeting agenda, children in masks, vaccinations, and the school lunch program. That concludes the correspondence.
Okay. 4.2 is hearing of the public regarding non-agenda items. We will now call members of the public who have requested to address the governing board regarding items that are not on the agenda. If you'd like to submit non-agenda item, please submit a speech to this time. I have one person who would like to speak, who did not give a name. Go right ahead.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I just wanted to address the Brown Act requirements once again. I'm here at the meeting in person, and presentations that will be presented later in the meeting are not available for me to review or to take. I was told I have to wait till the end of the meeting when I asked for the here. And now I'm told there is one here, but I don't get my own copy, and I can wait till the end of the meeting. And that shouldn't be the case. It should be available as soon as the end of the meeting. The information should be available to all parties. It's 5 o'clock at the end of the meeting, if not 72 hours before the meeting. The other thing I wanted to address was the way these meetings are being held, and I am really opposed to listing individuals on the agenda, parents' names, full names, litigants' full names. In the past, there was always just a number in order to protect their privacy, and I feel like it's absolutely bullying and retaliation and disrespectful, and I'm embarrassed for the district that this happened. And you have an opportunity to fix it, and I hope that you will fix it for the record going forward. That if someone in the future looks at the website, that they will see, will not see these names. It's wrong. And again, I'm embarrassed that the district did this. You guys know better. Thank you.
Great, thank you. We are at item 5.1, board recognition to DMUSD employees of the month.
Congratulations to these DMUSD employees of the month for the month of October. Vicki Bouchain, Health Aid Technician, Ashley Falls School. Jessica Gonzalez, Instructional Aide at Carmel Del Mar. Shelley Healy, Office Assistant, Del Mar Heights. Jenna Ellis, Administrative Assistant, Del Mar Hills. Yvonne Ron's, Office Assistant, Ocean Air. Stephen Turan, Instructional Aide, Sage Canyon. Juan Rios, Plant Manager, Sigma Ridge. Bina Anharia, Instructional Aide, Troy Hills. And Stelly Quinn, Interim Substitute Consortium Coordinator at the District Office. Join me in congratulating these excellent DMUSD employees of the month for the month of October.
Okay, thank you. We are at
The UCT bargaining team, along with the district administrative bargaining team, was attending a training together for interstate bargaining. I'm happy to say we concluded that last Friday afternoon, and I think I speak for myself as well as probably both teams that it was a success. And I think we both got a lot out of it. We were able to come together as two teams, work through a process together, and kind of learn together ways of bargain, which I know some people on the bargaining team have been through this training before, but most of us have not been through it. So there's a chance to learn this process where we can work through bargaining and hopefully come to solutions that work best for both sides, win-win type scenarios. One of the things that stood out to me is one of the first things we talked about in that training that gives kind of a picture of what interest-based bargaining is. If you're not familiar with it, it was this scenario of two kids fighting over an orange, right? And and they fight and end up just saying, fine, let's split in half. And in the end, they come to find out what each one wanted. One wanted the fruit, one wanted the peel. They could have just given the peel and the fruit, each had more, but they end up with half, right? So that's kind of the, not a perfect scenario that describes it, but it's the idea where if we can come together as teams to be able to describe our interests behind what we're asking for and going for, we can often come up with solutions that can fit both sides a little better, or solutions that we maybe didn't even think of in the first place. So we're both looking forward to getting started coming up here. I know that we've surveyed our members and we're kind of getting organized and ready. Hopefully the next month we'll be starting to look at our contract and work through to get our next couple of years taken care of. Other than that, next month I believe we will have at least some teachers here, if not some students here, to go ahead and talk about the great things they're doing in classrooms. That's all I have tonight. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Item 5.3, board report of the Del Mar Schools Education Foundation. President Katie Castle.
Good evening, President Halpern, members of the board, Dr. McClure, and members of the cabinet. It's good to see all of you. We are excited to announce that we reached $500,000 during our fall campaign, and we wanted to extend a huge thank you to our incredible community, and to all of you, and to the support of all of our principals, all of our teachers, everybody that makes this happen. It's incredible to live in a community that is so generous and understands and really appreciates our STEAM Plus program. So we're thrilled about this news, and we're really excited to go into our next fundraising season, which we'll talk about soon. So we just finished our fall giving campaign, and probably most of you in this room know, but DMSEF has 2 campaigns during the year. We have our fall fundraising campaign, and then we have our spring jogathon. So our fall campaign is normally geared toward our parents, and we tried this year to make sure we had some really special prizes for parents that were able to give and were able to contribute during our fall campaign. And we are gearing up for our spring jogathons, and that's our friends and family fundraiser. That's where our amazing students get to go ask their grandparents and their neighbors and friends to contribute to our incredible program and to our STEAM Plus teachers. So jogathon this year, we would love for everybody to save the date, January 20th. We have a STEAM Plus event that will be for adults, and it will be a really exciting opportunity to get feedback about our STEAM Plus program, hear about our STEAM Plus program, and hear about the future of STEAM Plus too. So we're really excited about that event, and there will be more information coming out about it soon. And then our jogathons will be January 30th to February 18th. And we learned one of those silver linings during the pandemic. I think everyone in our community learned that it was wonderful to have our jogathons unified and at the same time throughout the district. So we are really excited to have these dates and know that this is coming up once we all get back to school after winter break. And we will be having the principals gear up with their principal challenges and all of the fun things that go with jogathon, and make it so fun for our kids. So we look forward to that, and we thank you all for your support.
Thank you. Thanks for that great news. Congratulations. Okay, 5.4 is board report for the Del Mar Parent Teacher Association with Del Mar Hills Academy PTA President Libby Holland. Welcome.
President Halpern, members of the board, Dr. McClure, and thank you for the opportunity to be here in person tonight on behalf of the PTAs to discuss positive community building. Just real quick, the National PTA, which every school belongs to, its mission is to make every child's potential a reality by engaging and empowering families and communities to advocate for all children. The values that they highlight are collaboration, commitment, diversity, respect, and accountability. So what is a positive community? According to positive psychology, positive communities are groups that inspire their members in ways that promote a sense of self-discovery and group connection, encourage members to express their beliefs and values, and build relationships with each other. So 10 traits of a positive community. We have common goals, freedom of expression, address members' concerns with sensitivity, set clear policies, fairness, celebrate heritage and traditions, promote interactions among members, elect leaders that stand by community values, prioritize effective communication, and make smart decisions. So during the COVID-19 pandemic and social isolation, the current pandemic has led to the implementation of unprecedented social distancing. Strategies crucial to limiting the spread of the virus. We can all agree it worked very well, especially in the school district, but there is a high cost associated with these essential quarantine and social distancing interventions for COVID. Loneliness, social isolation, as well as associated physical and mental repercussions. So how can our PTAs foster positive communities? We are thrilled that we are able to gather again in person on campus. We've already had movie nights, reflection art program showcases, ice cream socials, restaurant nights, readathons, Halloween hoedowns, and giving back, which is the greatness of community is most accurately measured by the compassionate actions of its members. And I will say all of our PTAs, I feel, this year and last year are focusing a lot on giving back. So how can you be part of this positive community? You can get involved, you can volunteer, it provides many benefits, both mental and physical, increase your self-confidence, combat depression, and help you stay physically healthy, and also have some fun. So upcoming PTA events across the district, Ashley Falls has a booth through, CDM a hoedown, the Heights has a booth through, Delmar Hills will be having a winter concert, as well as Oceanair's Winter Wonderland, Sage will be having a fall festival, Sycamore Ridge an outdoor movie night, and Torrey Hills a restaurant night. So thank you very much.
Thank you. It's very exciting to see everybody back on campus. Thanks for having us. Okay, board reports, governing board members, 5.5. And I guess we'll go in this order. So we have a list here. We have Member Mock first.
Hello, everybody. I went to a couple things this month. I guess they're both on the same night, a couple webinars. And they're basically both in response to kind of the climate right now at the school board meetings, which I'm really glad that we've had very under control meetings and everything's going well here. The first thing I went to was a webinar about navigating the political landscape of ethnic studies. Ethnic studies. And it doesn't fully apply to us necessarily because it's in response to the bill that requires ethnic studies to be taught in high school, but since we're a 6th district, it doesn't really necessarily apply. But at the end of the day, my takeaway is basically that, again, we should value every voice, and it's something that we spend time doing here, so I think it's great. And the other webinar I attended was managing an orderly board meeting, and one of my kind of big takeaways from that is that it's been good here. We've had good board meetings, we've had quiet, calm ones, and that's partly because we do things the correct way. It was put on by the San Diego County Office of Education and with an attorney that was there. And, the one thing that I noticed is that we're really kind of following the rules as much as we can. And it's pretty much we're always doing everything the right way. So, that's pretty much all I have. Thank you.
Thanks, Julia. Okay, so Member Wooden.
Hi, thanks everyone. So I went, Catherine and I both attended this SF Squared for this School for Sound Finance is what it's called. We attended, actually Delmar hosted it, Holly and quite a few of the staff also attended on there. I'll just pull out a few things. Both Holly and Catherine will probably have more to say on it. In the state budget, I know there was some increased money in special education funding, so hopefully that will help us. Because special education does run a lot, and it's always underfunded, so any more money is always helpful for that. There's a $120 million fund for kitchen infrastructure upgrades that I'm sure we'll look into trying to see if we can get some of that money. They also had like real estate and economic updates. I know they talked about housing supply, affordability, a number of job openings around here, unemployment rates, a lot of the resignations that have been the highest in healthcare and education, and that they were highlighting that, as well as the inflation that going into multi-year high. I know in August, inflation had risen by 5.3% year over year in the fiscal report that they had given us. And the other thing Catherine will probably talk about more of this was on the TK fund, TK, the transitional kindergarten that the state is wanting to do. There's no funding mechanism for community funded districts, unfortunately, at this point. And we are a community funded district, so that is something that we have to try to get our legislators to make sure that if they're wanting to have a transitional kindergarten program, that they do funding. And I know the goal from SF Squared has always been for community funded districts to receive resources for this, par with the state funded districts when the universal TK is implemented, and that issue has not been resolved. So if we have to create a 14th grade level without state funding, as Holly and Kathy have pointed out in our update, current programs we're going to suffer if we don't get funding. The solution would be the state needs to bring in money to support community funded districts. And so any of the community and that can petition your legislatures to make sure that there is funding for this to avoid cuts in our program, that would be appreciated by us. And that's about it for that I have for the SF Square. Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks for going to that. Okay, Member Rathburn.
My month was a little bit slow. I did attend a precursor meeting to the planning board meeting, which I'll leave to Chris to talk about later in the meeting. And we talked about how that could go down, and in fact did go down. And that was my month.
Thanks. Okay, Madam Catherine.
Good evening. So I guess I had a little bit of a busy month. I first attended, just kind of on my own, EdSource, which is an educational media platform based in California, and kind of just gives articles and updates from across the state on what's happening in education. They had a Universal Transitional Kindergarten Roundtable, and it was just kind of an opportunity to sit and listen to what's in the works for how this will be implemented across the state. And then I also attended the school board book club that I'm a part of, and it's the, just members from around the feeder districts, and then from San Diego. I went to that. That was always nice to connect with other trustees from the neighboring districts. As Scott mentioned, I went to the SF Squared meeting. And I guess my takeaway for Universal Transitional Kindergarten is that we would have a voice and we can use it, and our community can use our voices too to advocate for the funding. So that's something that hopefully we can, get the trade going, because it's definitely timely. And then I've been doing the Masters in Governance series through the California School Boards Association, and interestingly enough, the fourth session that I attended was on human resources and collective bargaining, so it was timely for me to hear the information that was presented there. I went to the Delmar Hills Modernization meeting, which was great, and then the Halloween Hoedown, which was the best event out of all of them. So thank you.
Which people will be advocating to for the TK?
I would say our first and foremost, I would just say to raise the awareness that it's, I think a lot of times people don't know it's out there, like what is universal transitional kindergarten, what is transitional kindergarten. So just educating, your friends, your family, your neighbors in the community about what it is first and foremost, and that it is something that we could have if we were able to, get the funding for it, and making sure our legislators know, and so we as a community can get together to,
It's like your state assembly members.
to petition our state legislators. It's a good first step, yeah.
Did you want to add about the school board?
Oh, no, I was also there, I
Yeah.
forgot, yeah. Oh, yeah,
You guys are so busy, they can't keep track of all the things.
yeah.
Okay, so I also attended the meeting with Doug to prepare for the planning commission meeting, and I helped present that last week, so that was successful. And we'll hear more about that from Chris shortly. And I also attended the managing an orderly board meeting session, and I had the same takeaway. It's great to know that we're doing things the right way here. A lot of districts across the country are not. But they had some good tips and suggestions for making sure that any kind of conflicts are handled well. And then shortly thereafter, we received a letter from the state DMUSD attorney, Mara Elliott, noting the spike in criminal behavior directed at school board members and school personnel, and organized attempts to disrupt peaceful conduct in public meetings. She assured us of her office's commitment to the safety of school board members in performing their public service. So it was good to hear that, and certainly if there's ever any controversial issues, we're encouraged to make sure that we're tightly coordinated with any our local police department. Fortunately, we have had lots of productive public meetings. And that's all for me. Yeah. Okay. Oh, board report. Superintendent's report.
Yes. So we continue to have weekly meetings with our county office, so that has been helpful in keeping up to date with legislation and mandates, requirements, et cetera, which I'll talk about in just a moment. I did have a chance to meet with our PTA presidents this past month, and there was, thank you, Libby, for sharing tonight. There's so much great discussion and sharing about how to be influential in our communities right now and bring families together and opportunities for a lot of positive interactions, which was great. So it's wonderful to always hear the voices of our PTA presidents. And thank you, Phoebe, and your board for continuing to do the work that you do as a foundation to support our students. We appreciate that. And thank you, Kevin, also for organizing your people and participating, taking the time for the IB. It is good to be a part of a process that is so high functioning and really hears the voices of everyone. So thank you for that. We did have a fall regional meeting that was interesting, and I will talk about UTK in just a moment. And it was great to be at the Delmar Hills Modernization Community Input meeting again. So Chris, that was great to have lots of opportunities for community to be involved in all of those different parts of our district. So a little bit about Universal Transitional Kindergarten. Thank you for bringing that up. We are advocating very intentionally right now and very overtly. And we actually, as a group of superintendents, have a meeting this next week about the very next steps in coordinating with our state legislators in advocating for funding. So specific meetings with each of our legislators, and then there will be probably an ask for board members to have a voice in that as well. So I'll come back with you with more information about that. It is correct, there is currently no funding for transitional kindergarten for basic aid districts. So the cost of offering a 14th grade in a district like ours, a K-6 district, really does fall and actually lay completely within the K-6 span of a district. So it would be a very large cost. And absent of funding for the district, it would be a huge impact to our existing programs. So we are doing very serious and concerted advocacy around getting funding for all 4-year-olds, which is what our legislature has talked about. And we hope that that includes our children as well. So we do take the responsibility for educating our children very seriously, as we all know, and our staff has shown time and again, that we look at every decision we need to make as to what is right for children and best for children. And some of the things that we value, I appreciate the word value being brought up by someone earlier. We value high quality instruction. We value meaningful learning. We value student agency. We value human to human interaction. We invest in our people. We value our people. We value curriculum. We value instruction, and we value the environments that our children learn in, and all of those things as we present them every month and as we can see what we communicate and make decisions are about really exemplify all of those values. So we also value our role with parents as partners, and try to provide a lot of opportunity to hear from our parents in a lot of different ways. So as we move through the coming months, we look forward to continuing to provide, a safe place for our children to learn. Our schools are some of the safest places anywhere. Our dashboard today has 0 on it again. And what we're doing, our systems in place, our protocols in place are working, and we're very pleased with that. And the school year continues to be a great one. We're happy, it was mentioned tonight, to be able to bring back in-person family events for all of our schools. It's great, more are planned coming up, and that's wonderful. And we're actually also thrilled to be able to offer some additional in-person events that we're used to having in previous years, assemblies and things like that. So we're excited about that. And, as guidelines are updated and as mandates change, as we have more flexibility, we will analyze and make adjustments to our protocols and our practices in ways that, again, are right for our kids and right for our staff. And throughout all of that, we will be very sure to communicate with our entire community, of course, especially our parents, about each step of the way. So there are lots of changes being talked about, and we are very much a part of getting information and acting responsibly and with intention for our kids. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 5.7 is board information and approval. Close the public hearing for the opening of the 2022 through 2025 DMUSD and DMCTA labor agreement, full contract renegotiation. Public hearing procedure. The California Government Code, Article 8, Section 3547, stipulates that a reasonable time elapse after the submission of the initial proposal for the public to have the opportunity to comment. Public hearing for the opening of the 2022 through 2025 DMUSD and DMCTA labor agreement, full contract renegotiation was opened at the September 22nd, 2021 Governing Board of Trustees regular meeting and will close at this October 27th, 2021 Governing Board of Trustees regular meeting. Public hearing procedure. Are there any comments?
No comments.
Okay. Is there a motion to close the public hearing for the opening of the 2022 through 2025 DMCTA labor agreement, full contract renegotiation?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, roll call vote. Member Munn.
Aye.
Member Wooden.
Aye.
Member Raffner.
Aye.
Member Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
And aye for me. The motion to approve the public hearing for the opening of the 2022, 2020 through 2025 DMCTA labor agreement full contract renegotiation has passed. 5.8 is hearing of the public regarding agenda items. Anyone who would like to address the governing board on a particular agenda item, your speaker slip will need to be turned at this time. You'll be recognized and called to the podium when your requested item comes up. Okay, item 5.9 is board approval of the minutes for the September 22nd, 2021 meeting. Is there any questions or a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve the minutes.
Is there a second?
Second.
I'll now take roll call vote. Member Mock.
Aye.
Member Wooden.
Aye.
Member Raffer.
Aye.
Member Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
And aye for me. The motion to approve the minutes has passed. 6.1 through 6.16, consent items. Any questions on consent?
I don't have any questions. I just want to make a quick comment though on 6.8, which is a retiring board policy for the gifted and talented student program. I totally understand the need to do that, and it doesn't quite fit into the educational model we have right now. But just kind of throwing it out there that I think there are students out there that might benefit from this, from programs like these, and something that maybe in the future is something to discuss or talk about again. But totally understand at the time it doesn't fit, and retiring the board policy totally makes sense. But that possibility.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay, thank you. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll move to approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Roll call vote. Member Mock?
Aye.
Member Wooden?
Aye.
Member Rafter?
Aye.
Member Fitzpatrick? It's an aye for me. The motion to approve the consent agenda has passed. Item 7.1 is a board report on the iReady locally selected student assessment with Vivian Firestone, our coordinator of assessment, data, and integrated technology. Welcome, Vivian.
Good evening.
It's a big title.
Yes. Good evening, Board President Halpern, members of the board, and Dr. McClure. It is my pleasure tonight to provide a report on the results for the iReady assessment, which was a locally selected assessment administered in lieu of the Smarter Balanced assessment for the 2020-2021 school year. Last year, districts were provided with flexibility in selecting a locally administered assessment as long as it met criteria established by the California State Board of Education. Requirements were that the selected assessment had to be aligned to state standards for English language arts and math. It had to be available for all grade levels and administered in the same manner across the grade levels. And then in addition, districts are required to share results with parents, educators, and with the public. After considering our options, we chose to use the iReady assessment instead of administering the Smarter Balanced assessment. iReady is aligned to state standards, and it was already being administered to all of our students in grades K through 6th grade. Ensuring the assessment was uniformly administered for both in-person and for lunch was a key factor in making this decision. The state did modify the platform used for administering the online state assessment to accommodate remote testing, and our LPAC examiner team used the system to assess our English learners in the lunch program remotely, and we found it to be very challenging to use. So we believe that more reliable results would be obtained by using the iReady assessment platform instead of the Smarter Balanced assessment platform. In addition, iReady has made a crosswalk document available to districts. This crosswalk document provided predictive data related to Smarter Balanced performance. In this document, scale scored thresholds were identified that are in alignment to the typical performance on the Smarter Balanced assessment for each proficiency level. The data charts following this slide are based off this crosswalk document. So this first chart shows the percentage of our students predicted to be at each performance level in reading on the Smarter Balanced assessment. Based on this data, 87% of our students would have scored at the meets and exceeds performance levels on the Smarter Balanced assessment. This next chart reflects performance levels in reading for our English learners, our students with disabilities, and also our students from families who are socioeconomically disadvantaged. Switching to math, this chart shows the percentage of students predicted to be at each performance level in math. Based on this data, 83% of our students would have scored at the meets and exceed performance levels for mathematics. And this next chart reflects performance levels in math for our English learners, students with disability, and also our students from families who are socioeconomically disadvantaged. Finally, this chart is based off of the iReady performance levels and not on the crosswalk data. It shows DMUSD performance in reading and math as compared to national and state averages for iReady assessment. This assessment is administered in many districts across the nation, and so they're able to provide us with comparative data. So overall, our students performed very well despite the challenges of the 2020-21 school year. And that said, we're always thinking about the names and faces behind the percentages of students who are scoring at the lower levels. And we have several strategies in place to support these students. The first is that we are ensuring that our multi-tiered systems of support, or MTSS, at both the district and school level are refined so that we can ensure that all of our students are receiving the support that they need. Part of that is ensuring that we're using assessment results to ensure that we know who each child is that needs assistance, and that we're designing the support specific to that area of need. We also have reading and math intervention specialists this year who are providing support to students at the lowest levels across our district. These are experienced teachers who have carefully designed an intervention program specific to the needs of each of the children on their program. We also have our counselors who are working with teachers to ensure effective implementation of second step is in place in our classrooms. And then in addition, they are supporting students who have been identified by the principal and teachers as needing additional support. We have also expanded professional learning and coaching for co-teaching, which allows our general education and special education teachers to collaborate and support students within the classroom setting. We are always taking intentional steps, though, to ensure that we have enriching learning environments for all of our students at all performance levels. And you're already familiar with some of the key initiatives that we have in place to ensure that school is a place that inspires all of our students, no matter where they're performing on an iReady assessment. And so that concludes this presentation. Thank you. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Just curious, I know that the test is different from the Smarter Balance test, the CAST test, but do you have a sense of how our students compare with the same kids in the same grade levels previously? I guess because we have iReady, we haven't used iReady assessments, so we've been using iReady itself, the program, right?
So last year was actually the first year we administered the iReady assessment, so we don't have data from the prior year. But I did look at how did our students perform on Smarter Balance in the 2019 school year, or 2018-19 school year, which is the last year we took the state assessment. And those percentages are actually very comparable between the crosswalk document data and how our students scored in 2019.
Do you have any reason to think that one is more challenging than the other as far as the assessment itself?
I think that the Smarter Balance assessment provides opportunity for students to apply in a problem-solving sense. We're not sure that iReady has that level of rigor. However, in terms of really ensuring that our students have the basic understanding of the expected standards at each grade level, I believe it does give us good information around that. And we have our classroom teachers continually assessing students as part of multiple measures to make sure those students are also learning at these levels.
And as far as the need for, you mentioned the counselors and the emotional supports or other adjustments, how is all that going?
I think it's going very well. We have counselors at each of our different school sites, and they are working in collaboration with their principals to really target the needs of those specific school sites and those students at the specific school sites. And we're already hearing lots of positive feedback about having those folks available to support students in town.
For the students that need a little bit extra help, you're saying that there were ones that they get additional teachers, or how does that work? Does that they get pulled out, or?
So we worked very diligently to identify, first of all of the students that were scoring at the lowest levels that weren't already receiving additional assistance, typically through perhaps special education and other programs that we might have available. But so the students that we targeted are our lowest levels, and then our teachers went in and did additional diagnostic assessment to really ensure that we were very clear about what those needs were for each of those students. And then we identified intervention material to use with those students based on those areas of need. Students are being pulled out a minimum of 3 times a week, but we were also worked with classroom teachers to ensure that they were not being pulled out during their core instructional time. We really feel strongly this should be in addition to, not in place of, their grade level content. and not put any. You're welcome.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next up, we have item 9.1, board report facilities update. No longer needs introduction, which has happened here multiple times.
Thank you. One moment. Thank you, Board President Halpern, Superintendent McClurg, and members of the board. This evening I'll give my monthly facilities updates, and we will cover Pacific Sky School, Delmar High School rebuild, Sycamore Ridge School's playgrounds, and Delmar Hills Academy modernization. So we start with Pacific Sky School, and we do have an upcoming item that will come tomorrow night. Tomorrow night I will be sharing with the Carmel Valley Planning Board, and we have done some work with the city and looking at stop signs at Solterra Vista Parkway and Toronto Court. And for anybody who's been out there, the grade kind of comes down sort of a steep hill to a certain degree, and it comes down to where the school is. Cars go fairly fast, so we're working with, we had a traffic study done by the city. The city's process looks at the current condition and wants to project to when the school is there, and so that didn't lead to crosswalks and stop signs. So we'll be presenting to the Carmel Valley Planning Board and looking at getting that situation set up prior to the school opening. So we're continuing to work on that, and I'll be able to report more on how that goes at next month's meeting. And beyond that, we have construction ongoing, and we are still anticipated to hit our start dates and potentially have completion earlier than the dates that we have here. So we're looking at updating some timelines, and I'll show you some pictures that will highlight that. So this is a picture, these are two pictures taken 4 weeks apart of our site. These are the aerial views. And so this is pretty amazing. This is basically slabs with a little bit of wall. 4 weeks later, we have a roof. Now, this isn't the metal roof, but we have the roof framed up. We have some insulation in it in 2 areas. Our innovation center and kindergarten areas are coming together, and they are actually starting to do the driveway. So pretty amazing work. In fact, yesterday they poured the slab for our after-school program and our kitchen, which means that all of the slabs have been poured already when we started the work in May. So amazing work. This is just I thought this was really cool when I was looking at the areas. If you look at this, this is the rendering site plan, and this is the area where you can literally see the site plan looking down on top of it as it's coming alive. And so that's what we get to see when we go out there each week is the school coming alive. And so we're very excited about the work. And then this is just sort of looking at that work going up, getting ready to pour the foundation in the after-school program over here. This is the bioswale that will be going in the middle of the drop-off and parking. We already have curbs coming up right here next to the building, so you can kind of see where people will be walking in. And then this is our innovation center, and looking back towards the campus is the framing up walls and putting it up with the block that we're already doing. So exceptional work by Erickson Hall and OBR and Mike Gallus, keeping this project moving at a rate and doing a really exceptional job with it as well. So very excited. For the Delmar High School rebuilds, we did have a very exciting meeting last week. We had a Planning Commission hearing October 18th, which was last Thursday. The Planning Commission gave unanimous approval for the project, and in fact, I just have a couple of comments. We had Planning Commission members commended the engagement process and the outreach that the district went through. They mentioned that the rebuild will be a safety upgrade. There was talk of the huge improvements from what it was, and one member said, I can't see any reason not to approve this. So really resounding support from the Planning Commission, great work by our whole team, and I thank President Halpern and Superintendent McClurg for opening and closing our presentation and really helping to get the message to the Planning Commission. The permit should be issued in approximately 2 weeks based on that approval. And upon receipt of that permit, we'd update our construction timeline so we can move forward with construction of the Delmar High School rebuild. And then Sycamore Ridge, just an exciting project that worked through this summer. I've talked with a number of people in this room about how supply chain has been the bane of our existence in a number of ways. And this came in a little bit late because of that, but it is amazing. And if you look at the take 2 that was just posted today, these don't do it justice. When you see the kids climbing on these rope areas here, you can see how there are differences from our current play structures, and the climbing, the way they're playing, the musical instrument pieces that are on the primary, and the access that we have for all of our students is really exciting. So it is heartwarming to see the kids playing on it, and really exciting to see that go up at Sycamore Ridge. And we are in the process, Matt Lintz and Mike Gallus have been doing some walks at our sites to look at other play structures that we could potentially do next summer or the summer after, so we can continue to, with this momentum, and make impacts at every one of our schools. And then our Delmont Hills Academy modernization. As was shared, we had our third community engagement meeting. We had June 3rd, we had our first meeting, and September 20th, our second meeting, and then October 18th, we held our third meeting. And the exterior and entrance and aesthetic input was reviewed, and so the architects took the input and had just general pictures that described that input, and sort of shared some of the input that was gathered from the community at the meeting before. We also did this with the staff, and we also did it with the students. So the students were fantastic. The students had input like about the great vibes that some of them had, and then also had really specific input about why they liked items and the materials being used. And so it's been really fun, and we will be back working with the students and staff again. We were also able to give planning updates, and we were able to share some examples of interior renderings. Now these are pretty sparse right now because we're just in the very beginnings, but we're looking at the building's kind of short, and it has some low ceilings, and we have spaces like these in the Innovation Center currently that if you raise that roof, you get some natural light, and you're really going to make that space feel different. And we have these beams, so we're looking at how we can incorporate what's already there and improve the space that way. And then we had a nice discussion about exterior site and how we could, as the portables are removed, and we're looking at how we can use the blacktop differently, what we need with the field, and gathering input on the priorities there. And so really good input from the community. So we'll be taking that, analyzing that input, and incorporating it into the design, and we'll provide further update to the board next month. And we're beginning the steps to schematic design, and then the next couple of items actually I'll be sharing are looking for approval for some of our consultants that will need to actually get some of that work going. And so with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions on our facilities update and the projects going on across the district.
Hey, Chris. Thank you for the presentation. Just a couple of quick questions for facilities guy. When will the construction be completed so people can actually go on it, or do you think that it's going to be something where the community has to wait until school is actually open?
Right now, I would say school is actually open.
Okay.
So depending on how things finish, but because of the tightened timeline, I think it's unlikely that we will have the public on that campus prior to school opening.
Okay.
So August 2022.
Great. And I've also got some emails asking about when will the mascots and culture and that kind of stuff be determined? Or will people have an opportunity to weigh in on that?
That's a great question. We've actually been discussing that as a team, looking at next steps. And Holly, would you like to share?
Sure. So we'll have a process throughout the coming months for all of that, and it's very typical that the school community, the children who will be attending there will be a part of all of those decisions. So that's what we intend to have happen throughout the coming months.
Yeah, before looking forward. So.
Hopefully they're thinking of ideas and writing them down.
Yeah, that was it for that. And I just want to quickly comment that I watched the planning commission meeting for the Delmar Heights situation, and I just want to say you guys did a really wonderful job. You know, everyone that was involved with that did a great job. It was really nice to hear the commissioners who are a neutral third party basically weigh in and overwhelmingly say that it was a great project. Things that we've been saying all along, you know, but it's really nice to hear someone else that just looking at it objectively say this is a great project. You guys have done a wonderful job incorporating the community, and the design of the project itself is very nice. So I mean, it was really nice to hear. So good job, guys.
I'll add one point to the community of Pacific Sky. The work in the street should be done by the end of this week, so we should be getting the last of the metal plates off the street. They were filling in when I was there today, so they've been working to try and get those out too, so that that little bit of traffic on Sierra Vista should be gone.
Yeah, I have to work my wheel alignment after that, but that's okay. Thank you.
Just a question related to the students who were displaced during the Delmar Heights rebuild. I know some parents have been wondering about whether the third bus driver is going to be added back or what some alternative plans might be
It's
for
a
that.
great, timely question, because we just received confirmation that they will be starting that Seagrove and the third bus on Monday, and Principal Swallow will be sending out a letter tomorrow morning.
That's great news. We'll also have the parents. Okay, other questions on this one? Okay, do you want to take us through 9.2?
Absolutely.
For
So,
approval, selection of consultant for site surveys for Delmar Hills.
yes, and so for our site surveys for Del Mar Hills Academy, we are looking with the site survey and topographic mapping. We will need a consultant who will do that work. They'll look at a title report to make sure that they're mapping correctly, and we look at the layout of that campus, and we look at a couple of the items we're considering with, for example, the parking and the traffic and how we might make some adjustments. This will be very helpful in the next steps of the process, and so we bring Snipes Dye to the board to for approval to do the site survey and topographic mapping.
Okay. Are there any questions on this?
How did you come to him?
So we requested proposals. We had a number. I'd have to look at the exact item to see. There were a number of people who submitted, and so they had. We have worked with Snipes Dye. They had a very solid proposal, and we're a competitive price.
The most competitive price, it looks like.
Yeah.
Best price on the list. So
Yeah.
they kind of hit all the marks for us.
Great. So, is there a motion to approve the selection of the consultant for the site surveys?
So moved.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Roll call vote. Member Mock?
Aye.
Member Wooden?
Aye.
Member Raffner?
Aye.
Member Fitzpatrick? Aye. Aye for me. The motion to approve the selection for the consultant for site surveys has passed. And 9.3, board approval selection of environmental consultant for the Delmar Hills modernization project.
So for environmental, and this would include CEQA, we went out with the same process. We actually reached out to, I think, 5 firms that have submitted before and already have done work with before. We only received one submittal. However, it was from a firm that we have done work with and was a price that was within line. That gives the options for the initial study in M&D if we went that route, or potentially up to an EIR if there was a need as we do that initial study. And so I would recommend that we select PlaceWorks for the environmental consulting for Del Mar Hills.
How does the pricing compare to the previous pricing for projects?
So it compares, it's a little bit higher than what we had for Pacific Sky School. However, Pacific Sky had a full EIR that was done as part of the party work, so there's a little bit more work that they'll be doing on this. And we asked them to include the potential costs for items like an EIR, which in a situation like this, it's unlikely we would need to do a full EIR because it's a current site and you'd be removing older portables, but in the event, that's included in the price.
So would that cost be lower then if we don't need to do?
There's the possibility that it's lower. With CEQA, you do have the things where we start looking into something and you need to look into it more to see if there's a mitigation, there's something with construction always impact a certain area. So there's a little bit of what are you going to find through the process? However, there's the chance that it could come under that price. Absolutely.
The other firms, did they give any reasons? They're just too busy?
There were some that said they were too busy. There were some that we just didn't get much of a response from, but the ones that we heard back from, they had work and just didn't line up with their timelines and their work.
Is there a motion to approve the selection of an environmental consultant?
Second.
Thank you, July. I will now take a roll call vote. Member Mock?
Aye.
Member Wooden?
Aye.
Member Raffner?
Aye.
Member Fitzpatrick? Aye. Aye for me. The motion to approve the environmental consultant is passed. And by 4, board approval selection. Board approval selection of consultant for geotechnical investigation for Delmar Hills.
So this would be the final consultant we need at this point in time, and For geotechnical, we're looking at the soils. There'll be some borings. They're trying to make sure that the soil is suitable should we have to adjust to a location that's not in any likelihood of Del Mar High Hills. And also looking at, is there any impurities or poisons in the earth that you might find. So it's part of the process, and then we submit some of that to Department of General Services. And so this is one of the processes. We received a number of responses on this. The best price is from a company that we've done work with, Nova Services, had a full and appropriate RFP, and so we would recommend Nova Services for this work.
I like a good value, but is there any reason why they're like a third lower than some other pricing there?
Some of them, I think, I look at the pricing. I think there was some overpricing and coming up with some other reports. And so I don't know how many staff members were included, but there were one of those that was high had considerably more for some of the report writing that I don't think you needed to charge that much for it.
Is the geotechnical going to be involved? And I don't know the status of the off-ramp issue, freeway there. Is that going to have any overlap or impact?
Shouldn't have any overlap because the off-ramp stays 50 to 60 feet to the east of the edge of our campus. And in the end with this, there isn't any expectation that we'll be expanding the footprint of the base of the school. So really we're looking at satisfying the needs for issues like, is there something wrong with the soil? And that's really going to be the bulk of this campus.
Okay, I was just wondering, maybe the others put that into their estimates.
Yeah, one of them, and one, we included everything, and one of them had something that was optional, but even when you take that option out, it was still lower for Nova.
Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Roll call vote. Member Rock.
Aye.
Member Wooden.
Aye.
Member Raffner.
Aye.
Member Fitzpatrick. And aye for me. The motion to approve the geotechnical consultant has passed.
Thank you for supporting these three. This will really help us get moving with the Down the Hills process as we dig into this.
Okay, closing items. Your agenda, you see 12.1, board review, reminder of upcoming DMUSD events. 12.2, reminder of upcoming PTA events, and hopefully we'll be more on those by on the calendar. We'd love to hear about those. And 12.3 is preliminary items for the November regular board meeting. And seeing none, we are at 12.4, adjournment of the meeting. Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So move.
That you want?
Yeah.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
That was close. We were going to be here all night.
Second myself.
Okay.
I was waiting for Scott.
We'll call vote. Member Rock?
Aye.
Member Wooden? Member Raffner?
Aye.
Member Fitzpatrick? And aye for me. The motion to adjourn the meeting is passed. The meeting is adjourned at 6:45 p.m. Thank you very much. Have a great night. Bye.
think that in the draft.
That was mine.
I know, you know what I mean? It's like
It's a whole school.
I want to say it was in the draft. Well, I'm just curious, so that people know.
Oh, wow.
Well, no, I just, I mean, I know I'll be able to see stuff.
Thanks very much.
But
Yeah,
Scott, we're gonna wait about 5 minutes for Catherine.
Okay, that's all.
Okay, looks like we have everybody here, so we're gonna get started. Good afternoon. In response to the executive orders issued by the governor of the state of California, the following meeting of the Board of Education at the Del Mar County School District will be conducted in person, following all current health regulations in effect at the time of the meeting. 1.1 Call to order open session. Open session of the October 27, 2021 Governing Board of Trustees meeting is called to order at 4:03 p.m. Pursuant to Government Code Section 54953B, which authorizes the conduct of meetings by legislative bodies through teleconferencing under specified circumstances, a quorum of the board members of the district which will participate from a location within the boundaries of the district. Member Scott Wooden will appear via telephone as permitted by the statute from 890 Elkridge Landing Road, Linthicum, Maryland, 21090. I will now take a roll call of board members who are present at this meeting. Member Mock.
Present.
Member Wooden. Okay, is present. Member Raffner.
I'm here.
Member Fitzpatrick.
Present.
And I am here. All members are present. 1.2 is public input concerning items in the closed session agenda. We will now call members of the public who have requested to address the governing board regarding items that are on the closed session agenda. I have one item. If there are any other items, thank you. Just bring them up. Okay, there's two. Okay. Persons wishing to address the board on a closed session item, except personnel items, are invited to do so at this time. In the interest of time and order, presentations from the public are limited to 3 minutes per person per topic. Okay, so you can fill out your speaker slips, and I'm going to call parent of DMUSD student, followed by Amy Hellenkamp.
Good afternoon, Candace.
Yep.
Can you hear me? Oh, excellent, thank you. Good afternoon. Federal and state laws govern student records and confidentiality. The Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act FERPA, protects personally identifiable information, PII, from students' education records from unauthorized disclosure. Under the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, the district may not disclose educational records without the written consent of the parents. A student record is defined as an item of information directly related to a student which is maintained by a school district. 34 CFR Section 99.3. Disclosure means to permit access to or the release, transfer, or communication of personally identifiable information to any party by any means, including oral, written, and electronic means. 34 CFR Section 99.3. FERPA also defines the term of personally identifiable information. This includes direct identifiers such as a student or other family member's name. In addition, the confidentiality of a personally identifiable information in the education records of children with disabilities is further protected by Part B of, it's not working.
Can you just pause the time for a second?
Yes. Okay, great. In addition, the confidentiality of personally identifiable information in the education records of children with disabilities is further protected by Part B of the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, IDEA, 20 USC 1417C and 34 CFR Section 300.610 through 300.626. These regulations contain confidentiality provisions that are similar to, but broader than FERPA. Dr. Holly McClurg knows or reasonably should know of these student confidentiality laws because they are also listed under DMUSD board policy. Yet, Dr. Holly McClurg still chooses to ignore them. Superintendent Holly McClurg and DMUSD board members were also notified via email several times by several families that the parent did not and does not give DMUSD consent to publish personally identifiable information of her child on the DMUSD website in regards to today's agenda's items. Yet again, Superintendent Holly McClurg and DMUSD board members continue to
15 seconds to conclude.
Continue to choose to ignore parents' non-consent. It can be reasonably deduced that the district's decision to publish personally identifiable information and its refusal to remove personally identifiable information from the DMUSD website was made in retaliation for the parents' advocacy for the student and complaints made against the district and Superintendent Holly McClurg. Both ADA and Section 504 prohibit retaliation against persons with disabilities.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Amy Hellenkamp?
Hi, my name is Amy Hellenkamp. I really have only learned about this in the past day, but what I've heard is disgusting. And I'm here as a reminder that you might think you win if you deny kids with disabilities services, you harass their parents until they go away. But these kids are part of your communities forever. And you deny them services and you all lose. Think about the kind of district you want to be. Think about the kind of world you want to live in. I'm really disgusted that I have to be here today. Thank you.
Thank you. We are at item 1.3, adjournment into closed session. The board will meet in closed session to consider the following matters. 2.1, conference with legal counsel. 2.2, conference with legal counsel. 2.3, conference with legal counsel. 2.4, conference with legal counsel. And 2.5, conference with legal counsel pending litigation. The board will now adjourn into closed session at 4:09 p.m.
We value student agency, we value human-to-human interaction. We invest in our people, we value curriculum, we value instruction, and we value the environments that our children learn in, and all of those things as we present them every month and as we can see what we communicate and make decisions are about really exemplify all of those values. So we also value our role with parents as partners and provide a lot of opportunity to hear from our parents in a lot of different ways. So as we move through the coming months, we look forward to continuing to provide, a safe place for our children to learn. Our schools are some of the safest places anywhere. Our dashboard today has 0 on it again. And what we're doing, our systems in place, our protocols in place are working, and we're very pleased with that, and the school year continues to be a great one. We're happy, it was mentioned tonight, to be able to bring back in-person family events for all of our schools. It's great, more are planned coming up, and that's wonderful. And we're actually also thrilled to be able to offer some additional in-person events that we're used to having in previous years, assemblies and things like that. So we're excited about that. And as guidelines are updated and as mandates change, as we have more flexibility, we will analyze and make adjustments to our protocols and our practices in ways that, again, are right for our kids and right for our staff. And throughout all of that, we will be very sure to communicate with our entire community, of course, especially our parents, about each step of the way. So there are lots of changes being talked about, and we are very much a part of getting information and acting responsibly and with intention for our kids. That concludes my report. Thank you.